Good evening. I'm Dr. Lydia, and my husband, Scott Kiddle, is still not here in the studio because life is complex, as we always believe and we know from practice. And he will join us later if he can. So we are co hosts, but I will do solo today for a while at least. So today we will be continuing the conversation life beyond the tomb. And why are we talking about the tomb when it is already Easter and it is all celebrated? But that's the point because we need to learn to live beyond the tomb. That means that everything becomes so habitual and we are running. And today we will continue talking about what do we have to unlearn. And because every day and every hour we learn something and we try to catch up with life and we try to not to fall behind those who are successful. And we are doing well. I think many of us are doing well, but we also carry a lot. And some of the things we carry, we forget that we learned them, but we never unlearned them. And so we all carry things. We carry habits, we carry beliefs, and some of them are very helpful, of course, especially beliefs if they are good. Habits, the same, agree? And also the ways of doing life. So we follow certain habits, certain patterns we've learned from our parents, families, friends, teachers, and then also we do what feels right. But maybe it felt right at one point, but no longer fit. So that's what today we want to challenge you. What is no longer fitting and helpful, and what do we do with those habits, and what do we do with those patterns, what we carry, habits, again, I said beliefs. But also, today we will be talking about why do we need sometimes unlearn something, and also about letting things go because we forget about the weight that we carry, habits, again, relationship, and also certain words and anger that we collected in our hearts during our lifetime. So again, welcome to our podcast. We call it CoPing with a capital P, because coping is not only about certain skills, we believe, but it is about processing life together. That's what Scott and I do, and that's why we emphasized the letter P. So join us on Coping Life as we talk about life that sometimes and more often than we wanted, wants us to get rid of habits that we collected during our lifetime. So, what does it mean truly to move forward? So, every Tuesday at 6 p.m. So, let's be honest. One of the hardest thing in our life is to unlearn. Yes, it's hard to learn, but to unlearn is even harder. So, and when we need to unlearn it, how do we do that? And that's what today I wanted to address that. Later in our conversation, we will also talk about Anne Lamont's 12 things that she had to learn about life and writing. Since I'm a writer, I always read something that people learn about writing. And also when you write or you do blogging, you write poetry, you write something, you have to unlearn your bad habits, which I had plenty. So, but we will begin with our relationship. And plus, and Lamont does not talk only about 12 things she had to learn about life and writing, but we will talk, of course, about life. So, what did you have to unlearn? To unlearn to become somebody. That's what you see. Our podcast coping is also becoming, about becoming through life, through sharing, and also through learning and unlearning. So, what did you have to unlearn? This question we had last Tuesday, last week, And as I said, we go live weekly on Tuesdays. So we had a poll. What did you have to unlearn? Scott and I talked about our personal experiences. And I want to share just one example today, the new one, that I'm still unlearning. And it's very hard because at one point I caught myself um, saying, but almost in the beginning of every sentence. And Scott and I, in our relationship, we found it so just natural that neither of us paid attention. But what I've learned that it just really jumped at me, and then I decided that I need to work on that. So if you ever hear me beginning my answer or comment with "but," flag it, just send it out. Lydia, you do it again. You just always start sentences with "but." Why it is not a good habit? Yes, I've learned it probably when I was argumentative or had a strong, maybe position. And so starting with "but" helped me because it immediately, it's a short word, just 3 letters. And it immediately stops the opponent and does not mean that they will listen. And it does not mean that they will process, but at least I get attention. And after that, it's all up to me how I will phrase and format my argument. We argue, but did you ever think that the way you argue is not productive? Arguing is actually an art. That's why coming to America, I've learned to appreciate how schools teach this art of debating, not attacking each other, not putting your opponent down, but learning to listen and learning to phrase your argument in a way that is short, polite, but very, very much to the point. So that's an art. So again, if you did not learn that or you learned bad habits, how to argue, this is a time to unlearn. And I will be doing it with you because that beginning with the "but" is simply I could find a better way, don't you think? So if you have any ideas how to start conversation when I disagree without saying "but." Also, we had a few examples of how people had to unlearn, represent themselves in relationship in the way that they felt like it was the best way to do it. But then when it comes to daily life, it's very time consuming and just like to carry that dating lifestyle the whole life through, it's impossible. So you have to be who you are, don't you think? So that's what I felt like one of the ways to unlearn something is to learn to be who you are and unlearn that sort of a show off style, like, oh, I'm so polite. I'm well dressed. And to go out, it does not mean that you go out every day, don't you think? So you have to learn to be natural and you have to be allow yourself to make mistakes. And that comes with unlearning to be defensive. Because when we make mistakes, and then if we try to be always perfect, then of course we try to argue that, no, I was right and this is who I am. But yes, I advise you to become a little more humble. And that's what one of the ways to live beyond the tomb is to be transparent, just to be clear who you are with all your problems, with all your mistakes. And trust me, that actually will make you even more lovable because that will disarm people who you love and they will appreciate that you came through as authentic self. So that means that we've learned in our lifetime so many ways to arm ourselves, to put that barrier between yourself and people. But if you think about Easter, what does it mean? It's just absolutely a naked truth. Naked truth. And so it comes to us what way we choose. We choose to live this transparent life and learn to admit our mistakes and learn to become defensive. So what other habits and patterns and beliefs did you learn in your lifetime? And now maybe we can come to this agreement that why not learning to unlearn? How to do that? That's a tough question. Not everything we carry is actually belongs to us. And let's think what it is. I recently saw a blog, a video, I would say, how women after 50 become invisible. Wow. So if you're a woman after 50, please write to us and tell me if you feel the same way. If it's true that society makes us believe that. I have to admit that, and I'm beyond 50, of course, that I don't know. I don't know because maybe because I work and I'm constantly in front of people, maybe it does not hit me as much. But in a daily life, maybe when we go to the store and maybe we go on vacation, how do people treat us? Treat people who are older than a certain age. At 50, no, I don't think so because I believe that. And I know it's a cliche now to say that 50 is the old 30, 60 is the old 40. So it's like, yes, we act much younger and we feel much younger. So I had to learn actually that this positive attitude that I don't want to unlearn. This is one of the things that I think is positive, and I invite you and encourage you to believe in that. So for that, we actually have 3 exercise groups in our connection, Lower Columbia United Methodist Connection, that we all the women get together and we exercise, we develop balance. So we are learning. So what are we unlearning while we are exercising? Tell me why it is good to exercise. But before that, on the screen you see our schedule, so and locations. So if you're interested in a group where you can, and it's not just for women, because the truth is, if a women are made by society invisible after a certain age, what about men? Don't you think that men also become invisible after a certain age? And we people do that. Maybe let's see that we have a way to to unlearn that attitude when we judge certain age as unproductive, unattractive, um, and we help it ourselves because when we hit a certain age, I'm afraid that we become less active. We do not go and like church even. Oh my goodness, church becomes so unpopular in our life that people stop going, and there are many reasons for that. Because one of them, of course, is that church became an institution, not a movement. But what gives me more joy than ever and anything is that connection to people. Wherever you are, if you feel lonely, let's unlearn it. Let's unlearn that sadness. Let's unlearn that sense of disconnect, unappreciation, and fear. It's fear that what if I go to this place, church, library, small group, and then I'm not accepted. So that's an acceptance is what we need to unlearn. So I invite you to practice courage. And even if you feel that I'm not attractive, I'm not friendly, whatever people made you believe, break it, leave it behind, try. Because if you don't try, you will be confined to your place and the age. And so then no wonder when people go and try after many years of being secluded and not connected, then, of course, in the beginning, our tongue is not as flexible, not as soft. We lose the train of thoughts because we get shy. So, what else do we need to unlearn? So we talked about my bad habit to start any sentence with "but." We talked about how we believe that after a certain age we become invisible. We have to unlearn it. It is all in our power to be visible. Learn, read, exercise, be among people, help, volunteer. So these things we need to learn. But what we need to unlearn and what we carry is belief in our loneliness, belief that we are not needed, belief that we are not valuable, that we do not have that sense of dignity. So that's what we need to unlearn today and start it right away. So again, why is that important? Because when we start unlearning bad habits, wrong beliefs, judgment, that attitude toward people that they are not as good as us, unlearn to believe that only our opinion matters, unlearn being cruel toward others, and also being ungrateful. So all these things you can name, and I advise you to divide your list in two parts. And on the left side, write everything that you learn in your life that is good. Not everything, but what is good and you want to keep. Otherwise, your list will be very long. But what you learned in your life and you don't want to carry, because today we are pointing at things that we've learned but no longer help us, no longer carry that significance or even harmful became harmful for us. So what it is that you need to unlearn, put it on the right side of the page. And so remembering that not everything we carry belongs to us, empowers us, makes us better people, better individuals. So that's what is important. But why does it matter? Because it matters. Thank you for the heart. I see you. Also, if you want to put comments, you can put a comment and I will read it, and viewers will participate and even answer your questions. So please put comments right here, and then we will pay attention to them and absolutely talk about what you comment on. So why do we need to unlearn? Because unlearning creates space. And creating space, we create time. And we develop new habits, and we learn how to set aside not only even time, but space. Did you ever hear that if you create a certain space in your house, that when you get into that particular chair or a sofa or desk in your house, or maybe like a lounge in your workplace, then your mindset immediately shifts to that place that you labeled, let's say, meditation, or you labeled it as writing. Like, for instance, where I'm sitting right now, it's my podcasting place and also writing place. This is where I write. And I will never come to my writing place dressed in a robe or some kind of outfit that is not making me feel together and productive. You see, so there is a way to learn to be productive, even if you have a tendency to relax and postpone things that you need to do. So be sure that you create for yourself a space in the house, in your life, where you have certain tasks. Same, if you, for example, have a bad habit, to, let's say, to talk on the phone for too long. Do you recognize yourself? If you do, put a comment or a heart. So, yeah, so we get on the phone or texting, but it used to be the phone, and we start talking and talking and talking and talking, not realizing that it is one way conversation. So, I advise you to, if it is your habit or pattern, approach it critically, because self-criticism is what we need to work on beyond the tomb. So this is a great time after Easter to assess and reassess yourself, your life. What is counterproductive in our life? What stands between us and our friends? What stands between you and your spouse or your partner? What does that make you succeed at work? What stands between you and your dream? Let's say you want to be a speaker. Let's say you want to be a singer. What do you do for that? Scott and I, we take voice lessons, and he's an excellent singer. But how to do that if we do not set aside the time for that? And so it's embarrassing how we constantly talked about voice lessons. And it's not just we did not take them. We took lots of voice lessons, but then we stopped because we moved, we have lots of responsibilities. And so we just did not even notice. But then we realized it's impossible to squeeze voice lessons into our busy schedule. Because, as you know, Scott also has his full-time job, and that's what exactly he's doing right at this time, because he got paged, and instead of being with us today, he is on his call for his major job. But again, regardless, so let's return to voice lessons. So to do voice lessons for us was to unlearn to do something which is watching way too much TV. So instead of sitting and watching sequels of one after another episodes, we decided, okay, we will move our TV watching only to the evening after dinner. And so on Saturday, now we have time to take voice lessons, which is very important to me because my sense of confidence when it comes to singing is not high. And though I did now sing jazz and I play accordion, that sense of anxiety, stage fright, oh my goodness, that is bad. And so I have to work on that. So I had to unlearn my bad fear, my bad habit to not sleep before I sing. And so for that, I just need to continue taking voice lessons. So any comments from this point? What did you have to unlearn? And again, I remind you that whatever we carry with us in life, not always belongs to us. We need to unload it, which means you have to let certain things go. I just today had an interesting conversation with a lady who cannot say no. And the reason when people ask her to help, she just like feels like it's her obligation, it's her life goal, and she does not feel good when she cannot help. So, not to say no is another learned habit, and it shaped us by different people, by parents, by teachers. Shame and guilt that we carry when we say no, it has roots in something, some event or occurrence in your life. And so, for some reasons, your personality was very open to that habit and you learned it. Let's unlearn it because it's not your responsibility. And the funniest thing I've learned that nobody expects you to do their job. So when you try to solve somebody's problems, did you ever realize that people do not need that? Actually, people get upset when you help them to do things that they are capable of doing themselves. So in a way, they let you do that, but it does not make you gain their respect. It's actually gradually these people start disliking you because you do not allow them to do something that they can respect themselves for doing it on their own. Isn't it a paradox? It's a huge paradox. So that's what there are things in life that we need to unlearn. We also need to continue learning and practicing good habits that do not add to our weight of bad habits. So the problem is that what we fill this empty space with, and it's actually very biblical. Remember how Jesus has a parable about it, how to, when you cleanse the house from all these bad spirits, and then when you're not careful, if you cleanse it from 77 bad spirits, it will be filled with thousands of even much stronger spirits. So then that's why we have to be very careful. If we unlearn certain habits, what would be put in place of them? Why do we keep certain habits? Because they protect us. And then we do not realize that actually they limit us as well. So if you have even protecting habits for you, then analyze that what if I'm too comfortable having these habits, but now I don't want even to see and admit that some of my habits that are so nurturing and protecting, they actually limit me from becoming strong myself, from becoming who I want to be in the relationship. So that's absolutely, be sure that reviewing your habits, reviewing your positions, your patterns, your lifestyle, and also what you learned in your life, your beliefs, your core. What if it start limiting you? And also, to be honest with yourself, ask, who did you learn it from? Did you learn it from people who are trustworthy, who really wanted the best for you, to challenge you, to empower you, rather than controlling you? So that's another angle of that. So be sure that your habits do not limit you. So this phrase, it actually belongs to Anne Lamott that I promised to talk today about. Sometimes what protected us now limits us. And this is what was told by Anne Lamott. Anne Lamott is one of my most favorite writers. And the reason for that is she has the most unusual and unpredictable way of speaking and phrasing her opinion and challenging. She would not be hesitant to tell you what she thinks. She would not hesitate to actually to address the core of your problem. And reading her, which I advise you to read and follow her, you would be challenged because the way she thinks and the way she views life, she actually makes me think about my certain positions that actually were very comfortable. And then I realized that, and Lamott thinks differently. And I think Scott is now in the studio. I'm so glad to have you, Scott. Let me bring you into the studio. Yay!
Well, hi,
Finally!
everybody. Yeah.
How was your work?
My work is a joy as always.
Finally. Okay. Finally, I'm
Goodness.
welcoming to the podcast that we lead together. So, Scott, I
Yeah.
warned you that we will be talking about unlearning some of the habits. So let
Mm,
me walk you through what I already covered.
okay.
So though I love not to prepare you, but I think it's more fair if you at least know where we are going. So I told you that we will be talking and continue our conversation about how to live beyond the tomb. And one of the ways is to change, to become, because we talked about how by learning we are actually becoming the best of our own version. So
Mhm.
how do you process that? Because our capital P in CoPing stands for processing life together. I finally can
Ah,
have a break.
oh goodness,
Now
goodness,
you
goodness.
work.
Oh
Yay.
my. So I'm in the unenviable state of trying to do a shift of context from
Mm,
what I was doing for the last hour, doing some very technical things on what's called a major incident at work. And so I'm shifting context from that to this more, what will we say, right brain type of activity. So hopefully that shift of context can be a little more elegant than sometimes it can be. So
good.
in my mind, and of course that's a challenge. In my mind, living in light of the empty tomb means leaning into embracing um, everything that Christ saved us for. So I'm thinking theologically, and I try to do that with some regularity. Christ did not save us simply to get us to heaven. And a lot of times when you talk to people, they say, "Oh, I'm saved. I'm going to heaven." But really, there's so much more to uh, what our what our relationship with Christ is to be than simply just getting us out of hell and getting us toward heaven.
Interesting.
The
Can I interrupt you
Yeah,
here?
yeah, please, please,
And you hear me well? So
I
interesting,
do.
but let's stop here. That's very
Okay.
good. So let's use what you said as an example. So you said some people who believe that they're saved. And previously, before you joined, I talked about sometimes what protects us, and that's what we keep it. We keep
Mhm,
certain habits and certain beliefs. In this case, it's a belief, I'm saved.
mhm.
But sometimes, and Lamott actually says that, and I quoted her here. And Lamott said, sometimes what protected us now limits us. And so when a person, an individual, woman or man, believe whole life that I'm saved, how do you think that can limit a person?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. It
Mm-hmm.
can limit one into thinking that I have arrived. I now have everything. I'm everything that God wants me to be, and so I'm just biding my time until Jesus comes again, or until I pass from this earth in death, and now I go to heaven. That can definitely limit people.
Absolutely. And then also, even theologically, since you touch theology, which not every person who follows us is a Christian or theologian, especially. But just to clarify, even Apostle Paul says in the Bible that you have to work your salvation every day. So it's not
Absolutely.
like, oh, I'm saved, I'm forever saved, I can do whatever now because I am forgiven. And people, the problem with that, Scott, is that people who claim themselves saved, and this is where the Christianity now started taking the turn, that some people believe that they're better, and then they start looking at others as they're kind of a second class citizens, you know? And
Mhm.
this is why humanity, in a way, is split now because Christians, for some reason, started rising in their power, and that's kind of weaponized power. Because it's not just we look down at other individuals, but we categorize them. For instance, like those people are not worthy because they are immigrants. Those people are LGBTQI. They're not fully individuals. You see how dangerous it is? And but because they're saved, whatever they do is perfectly and also justified. But so this being said, let's see how any other habits can limit us. Because remember, we talked about marriage, we talked about work, we talked about relationship, learning. So, what kind of habits that we feel like became already that load that is heavy, but we carry it. But also that when we empty space, what feels that? Is it okay if I say I've learned that, let's say I was that person who says, I'm saved. And then I relearned it, I unlearned it, I let it go. I realized that I need to be humble, I need to continue learning in faith. So, but then what fills that space? And how to fill it?
Oh, that's a question to me.
Yeah, so
Not
what do you
just
do?
rhetorical. Oh, my.
No.
Well, my understanding has been for a long time that when you first come to Christ and you you get your forgiveness of sins, that this is just the first step on a journey. This is an entry into a new life, and just like a child that comes into the world, you don't want that child to remain a baby. I mean, certainly there's that sentimentality of, oh, I want to have this little one with me like this forever. I don't want this moment to end. But in actuality, if you have a child, you want that child to learn and to grow and to develop a good conscience and learn how to integrate into society and into family and become a rich and full person. So that's the same case with becoming a Christian, becoming a person of faith. You're beginning a new life, and so you need to fill your life with those things that help you grow and help you become uh, a more compassionate and kind person in this world.
Well, that's great, right? So what you're talking about, that it is not embarrassing to start over.
Oh no! Oh.
And so is that okay? Yeah. And so how is that starting over, letting things go, is connected to becoming? So is it scary to drop suddenly so many things you know and value and believe, and then learn new things? That's what you just talked about, becoming a child again. Maybe that's a way to live beyond the open tomb,
Mm.
empty tomb.
Yeah, yeah. So part of growing, part of becoming a mature person is to engage in introspection and reflection on your life. So we
Mhm.
get into habits, we get into patterns, even in this journey of growing and becoming. We get into habits, and we get complacent. We get used to a certain way of being, but if we're wise, we'll engage in reflection uh, and and look at our behaviors and our habits and say, does this really match the values that I hold? Do I have the right values? And if
Absolutely.
it, yeah, and if in my reflection I find, oh goodness, I this habit of mine or this attitude of mine really isn't matching the values that I say I have or that I'm aspiring to, then I need to change course.
Absolutely.
I need to
So
let
let's
go of
talk
some
about,
things.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, just and so I might need to let go of some things, like you were saying.
Yeah. So, what did we each of us carry? Let's briefly summarize because the time is running. So, for instance, in my case, it was I had lots of assumptions about people, about life that I had to unlearn. Was it hard? Oh my goodness, yes, very hard. So what was that? What was that in your case? For instance, again, I had lots of assumptions, but I also knew how things should be done. You see, that was, remember how many times we will be
Mm.
arguing about how things should be done. And here we are from two different cultures.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, what, when you shared about your unlearning experience, how hard was that?
Oh, definitely was hard, and the process of realizing that I needed to let go of some things and unlearn some things, that caused some friction between us.
Hmm. Hmm.
We
Because
had
sometimes I
some,
didn't
yeah.
even think, right? Yeah. I didn't even question them because I was so certain, right?
Mm,
And same
yeah.
with you.
Oh yeah.
I tried to come up with an example because one we covered and it was uh, critical about those eggshells, but we
Those
had lots of
eggshells.
things, right? Like, for instance, I remember how uh, um, I believed that, and you believed in two different things, like, for example, how the kitchen should be arranged. And each of
Mm,
us had absolutely different perceptions and style of cooking. And of course, with the Russian style cooking, I needed different utensils, different pots, different ingredients. And you had absolutely your own perspective on that, right? And so
mm.
what happened
Oh
in the
yeah.
end? I had to unlearn many, many, many things in the kitchen. And what I don't want people to do, and this is what causes loneliness and alienation and anger,
Mhm.
that I actually stopped cooking for a long while.
That's
Remember?
true.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I felt like
Yeah.
I just cannot win because I liked how you cook. But then you were so kind, and you would start. You remember that Russian cuisine is amazing. So why don't you just make borscht? Or why don't you
Yeah.
make crepes? And so we
The
developed that
kasha
balance,
or yep.
right? But also baking that I'm good at. But until then, until we have honesty and in our relationship and
Mhm.
respect, then we cannot unlearn our habits, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also learn something different that really benefits our relationship together. Huge sacrifice, huge. But at the same time, it's very important. Don't you think it's important?
Oh, it's critical. It's not just
Yeah.
important, it's critical.
Right, right.
Oh.
And I never learned to grill like you do, or I never, but when we talk about practice and experiment, I want to brag about something because maybe I did not learn to make fish like you do. Maybe I did not learn to do especially steak. Oh my gosh, that is beyond me. Since we never had good meat, I always overcook meat, which becomes kind of like a hard,
Shoe
hard to eat
leather.
thing. Right. Yes. Right. Right. Not exactly, but yeah, very hard. We cook meat for a long time. That's what we do in our culture, at least back then. But so
Sad.
practice and experiment. That is huge because, that's what I've learned actually. My learning curve was to develop a certain new pattern. I would say, let's try it for a month. And if it does not work, we will let it go, right?
Sure. Yep.
Or at work, even I've learned, and I teach my people, our leaders, our churches, everywhere, that because change is very hard. Oh my gosh, you better just don't try, some people think. But I've learned that if you give people that time frame, like let's try it for 3 months, but all together, let's just give it a trust. And after 3 months, we decide, was it hard? Uh, does it come with benefits that we've been looking for? Does it support our vision? And you and I have vision. So when we decide, let's try it for a month. And then
Mhm.
we say, it works. Let's keep it. Or we will say, oh
Yeah.
no, let's try something else. So life
Yeah.
is an
Yeah.
experiment. So I want to share and brag a little about our experiment with um, coffee latte, latte art. That's a good example, right?
Yes, yes.
So maybe next time I will share pictures I make cafe, not cafe, of course, but wherever we go, we don't get that perfect latte art, right? And so at
Mm-mm.
home, um, it took us what, how many years?
Oh, it took us a few years, indeed.
10.
Yeah, yeah, it was
10.
a few.
I remember this is when we got the espresso machine first time. So, but how nice it is now in the morning not to rush to a coffee shop and how much money it saves, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why learning is messy. How many cups of coffee did I ruin?
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
And yeah, and if you apply this model, Scott, to life habits, it's very similar. So before we reach a point of perfection in anything, maybe never, like I never reach that perfect cup of latte art that will be just like, oh my gosh, I can display it. People make amazing latte art. I am not there yet, even after 10 years. But it's good enough, it's good. And so I'm happy, you're happy, and it tastes good. So if we applied same concept to life habits, it can, I think it can be replicated with many things that you cannot demonstrate, but it strengthens your relationships,
Sure. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
sense of,
Exactly.
sense of goodness, who you are as a person, who you are as a person of faith. And that's what I brought before you came and joined us, as Scott, and Lamotte. Because it's her
Oh,
saying, she
yes.
says,
Right.
life is messy. Life is messy. I also talked about her absolutely unique style of thinking and writing. And so, and you probably have your own writers you follow who are unusual thinkers and who make and who challenge you. Can you name anybody?
I'm thinking right now of Noam Chomsky, who's a philosopher, economist, kind of a political theory, very interesting guy. Just started reading a little bit of him. I don't think
Yeah.
I can really produce a good quote off the top of my head,
Yeah,
but
so that's fine. That's
uh,
fine. But so
yeah.
let's start wrapping it up again. So we talked today about unlearning and why. Because each of us carries too many things that make us lose, actually. Um,
Yeah.
Kind of slow down our becoming who God wants us to be, becoming those individuals, strong people of dignity and healthy thinking, because we are all kind of buried under uncertainties and this very angry society what we have now, and it creates fear. And in this
Mhm.
particular time of life, it's more than ever important to unlearn bad habits, but learn how to listen to others, how to become kinder. You see, it's all about becoming
Abs-
kinder, slowing down, spend time with nature, thinking simply nicer thoughts about others. That's a huge skill because we are so
Oh, yes.
judgmental,
Yes.
right? So even
Absolutely.
though we are buried now, many of us, under all those fears and health concerns and concerns about the world state,
Mhm.
wars, and what is becoming of the country and people and faith communities. I encourage everybody to start with yourself, like you and I continue working and unlearning certain habits and being very cautious about how and what we fill that empty space
Absolutely.
when we unlearn certain things. Correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. So maybe the tomb is already open, but we are still holding onto something from before, right?
That's definitely possible.
So we want to stop and with the question: what do you need to unlearn to truly live. We
Mm.
talked today about women who become and believe actually that they are invisible after 50. We learned about people who prefer to stay home because they lose confidence that they will be accepted. So we need to learn to unlearn today and let things go that slows us down, that make us be becoming less confident, less certain, doubt ourselves, but also just simply adding habits and values and beliefs that make us who we want to be, truly, as better individuals and also better people and people who are designed by God. So, any wishes you have before we stop our podcast?
No, no, just I hope that you'll join us next week and reflect maybe on some of the things we've talked about and s- try to get a sense of who you are becoming.
Yes, absolutely. And remember, if you doubt that you're ready, you are. You are ready, and just review your habits, review your beliefs, and especially those habits that and beliefs that protect you because they strengthen your position. But honestly, look at what limits you now. So have a blessed evening, and we promise that on May 14th, I'm talking to our future guest. That will be Thursday because we promise to have special guests once a month, approximately, or maybe more often. We will have a guest on May 14th, so stay with us. Mark your calendar. We will advertise it and promote it. It's a very interesting conversation, and the guest will be a blessing to you all. So have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much, Scott, for finding a moment in your busy evening
Yes. Oy.
to join us. Okay. God bless you.
God bless you all. Bye bye now.